Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Student Research Brown Bag Seminar. I'm Jill McDonald. I'm the director of the Southwest Institute for Health Disparities Research, and we, along with CHSS, are hosting this seminar. And we're pretty happy to have Deborah Okon here today. She'll be presenting on her prospectus for her thesis. She's an MPH student in the Department of Public Health Sciences, and her thesis is, or her presentation is entitled My Thesis Prospectus, Vaccination Intentions Among NMSU Students. So thank you, Deborah, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, so my thesis prospectus will be on vaccination intentions among NMSU students. So the COVID-19 pandemic has been a global threat, and it has affected a lot of people nationwide and worldwide. As of February 10, 2021, we had over 107 million cases and over 2.3 million deaths. Also in the United States, we've had over 27.2 million cases and over 450,000 deaths. So the impact is felt worldwide in world economics. It has put a strain on the medical facilities, especially here in the States, and it has affected the physical and psychological well. So there are certain groups of people that are disproportionately affected, especially those that are the elderly and those with underlying health condition, in addition to people of minority group, according to research. In response to this global pandemic, governments and non-governmental organizations are working hand in hand. There have been national restrictions, increased surveillance systems, implementation of many non-pharmaceutical preventive measures like wearing of facial masks, social distancing, washing of hands, among others. But despite these measures, the burden of COVID-19 is serious, especially here in the United States. And to end the pandemic, according to research, a potential effective vaccine will be the most effective approach to end it. And we could agree with them because in the past, vaccination have had a huge bearing in public health, especially with the eradication of smallpox in worldwide, and also eradication of poliomyelitis in many countries, and the elimination of measles in most developed countries. However, in recent times, there have been increased refusal or hesitancy to vaccination. There have been a lot of decline in the general vaccination rate as a result of that. And researchers have it that it's not about producing a potent vaccine, but it's about how many people get vaccinated. We can only get protected if a lot of people contract the disease or a lot of people get vaccinated, because when vaccination doesn't just protect the person, but it also protects those that are not vaccinated. But we need to get to a threshold, which is the herd immunity. And research has it that about 70 to 90% of the population need to develop immunity either naturally or through vaccination. And if we are having increased hesitancy, or we are having people refusing to get vaccinated, then we will not be able to achieve the goal of getting to the herd immunity. So there is need for us to understand what exactly is preventing people from getting vaccinated. And so my issue of interest is people's intentions to get vaccinated. So I searched literatures on reports on vaccine intention, and around the United States. Most of the studies, though I didn't exhaust all because there's a whole lot of studies that are out, especially one by Dr. Kupchandani, though I didn't get the report from that particular study. It's not included in my review here. But most of the research has it that behavioral intention to vaccinate, it's very contextual and it's a very complex issue. However, previous research that I saw included report research on intentions among adults within the United States, and the participants were selected from a nationwide online survey, and most of the studies were conducted before vaccine was publicly available, and adults in this study were not from an academic institution. So I'll go straight to most of the findings from the previous reviews. So 4 cross-sectional internet surveys that were carried out around April and May 2020 found that there was a decline in intention to vaccinate from 58% to 69%. This particular study sampled people from different places, so it wasn't actually the same sample, but there was another longitudinal study that was carried out between April and December, which did a bi-weekly survey to describe the changes over time across demographic subgroup. And so they found out that there was actually also a decline in vaccination rate as at from 75 to 56% as at early December. So intentions to vaccinate against COVID-19 from my previous studies found that social demographic factors played a role in vaccine intentions. For instance, age. Younger adults were found not to intend to vaccinate compared to older adults. And race and ethnicity found out that Black individuals were more inclined to say they were not intending to get vaccinated compared to white and Hispanics. Geographic location. For the geographic location, the study carried out indicated that people in New York area, where they are actually assumed would have high intent to vaccinate because that was an epicenter for COVID-19, there was actually very low rate of people intending to vaccinate. Considering the burden of the disease in that area, and most of the people stating that they were not intending to vaccinate were actually the Blacks in that community, and they were of actually low socioeconomic status. Then for educational attainment, most of the studies recorded that people with low educational attainment were more inclined to say they do not intend to get vaccinated. Individual factors also played a role in people's intention to get vaccinated. Most people's people that believed they were susceptible or they perceived COVID to be a severe disease tend to had higher intentions to get vaccinated. Another study says social conscience, like individual altruism, as it went higher, there was actually higher intention of people to get vaccinated. And the reasons for vaccine refusal in most of the studies centered on people's personal concern for their personal trust for vaccine or the vaccine processes, and their previous habits. For instance, people that had been vaccinated with the flu vaccine before were more inclined to get vaccinated for COVID-19. Intentions across most of the studies that the study that used the time changed over time. So there's a possibility that maybe other factors could affect people's intentions to get vaccinated. As time goes on, intentions might change. Somebody that may be intending to get vaccinated may decide not to get vaccinated. History of disease and vaccine. Some people that had COVID-19 before did not see a need to get the vaccine. And history of, say, okay, we've been vaccinated before, or people that were against vaccination initially were not actually inclined to intend to be vaccinated. Political affiliation was also associated with people's intention to vaccinate, with the more liberal people more inclined towards vaccination compared to the conservatives. So the unanswered questions from this study was little is really known about intentions to vaccinate against COVID-19 among university students in the border region, or the factors that are influencing their decision. So another question was, will the proportion of people willing to be vaccinated drop as COVID cases are dropping nationwide? Because most times the threats of the disease could be what motivates people to get vaccinated. And considering the fact that people that are young feel they are not susceptible to disease, and considering the fact that we are having reduced rates, is it possible that young people will be willing to get vaccinated? Then will higher education among young adults equate to higher intention of being vaccinated? Because from this research, we had it that people that were of low academic educational status were not inclined to get vaccinated. So would it be possible that people in an educational setting will be more inclined towards getting vaccinated? So this study seeks to address students' vaccination intentions and the determinants of these vaccination intentions. So why is it important? Right now, we have 2 vaccines that have been ratified and recommended for preventing COVID-19, and students make up a significant population of the school, and their intention to vaccinate will help us understand the risks of transmission, especially within the school community, and it better prepares the university for transition into more traditional learning. So it also gives us projections of future vaccination intake, and is helpful in identifying strategies for future vaccination acceptance. So my research questions are, what are COVID-19 vaccine behavioral intentions among students attending NMSU main campus? What factors are associated with the COVID-19 vaccine behavioral intentions of students attending NMSU main campus? Methodology. So the study setting will be New Mexico State University at the Las Cruces campus. We have the student population of 14,000. The average age overall is 25, and we have more of Hispanics and followed by white and other racial ethnic groups. My sample population will be both graduate and undergraduate students in all colleges here at NMSU. So I'm going to be recruiting through an online survey that we developed through Qualtrics. An email invitation will be distributed across NMSU listserv and various colleges and departments on campus. Eligibility criteria will be students enrolled in NMSU who are 18 years and above. The email will also contain a link to an informed consent form. So after students are eligible, agree to the consent form, they'll proceed to the study questions. So the questions I'll be using will be adapted from previous surveys, and the behavioral intention question was my primary outcome measure. So other variables I'll be looking out for with general knowledge about vaccines, vaccine conspiracy, belief theory, threat appraisal for the person, the individual's medical pre-existing conditions, preferred source of news, because we know younger adults are more inclined towards the social media and there are a whole lot of news out there. If that has an influence on their intentions to get vaccinated, and social conscience, just as the individual altruism. So demographic questions will include departments in NMSU. Classical analysis, descriptive analysis would include, will characterize samples, the sample study variable. Then cross tabulations will be used to assess associations between the demographic variable and vaccine intention. So the binary logistic regression will be conducted to determine predictors of high and low vaccination intentions, while multiple linear regression will also be conducted to determine significant independent predictors of intentions to get vaccinated. So the potential impacts of my study. Well, the study will inform NMSU authorities, the vaccination intentions among students, which will help them prepare for safe return to traditional courses on campus. So it will possibly reveal target area where intervention for vaccine hesitancy is needed, and it will inform future programs or interventions on vaccine intentions among a student population. Next step. So hopefully I'm going to be presenting my thesis prospectus to my committee. I'll work on my thesis proposal after it's approved, and submit my thesis proposal to IRB to obtain approval, because I'll be dealing with human subjects, and collect data, conduct my analysis, write my result discussion, finalize my thesis manuscript, and hold my thesis defense. So these are my references. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm open to ideas, inputs, and comments. Thank you all.
Questions? You could raise your hand, or you could put something in the chat line. And I would like to ask a question while we're waiting. Deborah, have you thought, are you anticipating a certain response rate? What proportion of the student body do you think will respond to your survey?
Well, I really do not have an idea, but I'm hoping I'll have a high response rate, like since I'm also a student here at NMSU, hopefully students could also like agree to fill up the questionnaire. Well, I'm just hoping to get a very good response rate from students here at NMSU. Well, I don't really know if I will need to give incentives. I don't know if that will be necessary. I don't really know.
Maybe if students understand, maybe I think you might be right. You're a student here. People understand the importance, you know, how the information might be useful. I think they will be, with fingers crossed, more inclined to respond. I wonder, we have a few students in the audience. I wonder what they think about that.
I saw that while you were giving your question, Dr. McDonald, Osaseri wrote that she has a question in the chat. So if you'd like to give your question, Osaseri.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deborah, for your presentation. I feel like you did a great job, especially coming at this time when vaccine is like everything. It's like what is on everybody's lips at this point in time in this pandemic. So my question is mostly directed towards the instruments you want to use for your study. Can you please go back to the instrument slide? So I was looking at your instruments, and I don't know, first thing, I want to know if this instrument has been used in a student population before. If yes, good. If no, I want to know if you plan on making adjustments. Do you plan to kind of like build it to fit the student setting that you're trying to target? So I just want to know how you plan to work with this, like more about this instrument. Has it been used in the student population before? If yes, good. If no, what are your plans to adapt it into a student setting? That's my question.
Okay, so right now I've not yet presented to my committee, so I will definitely get input from them also, but I don't think it has been used on a student population, but it's adapted from these studies, but I'm still like, there are other studies that I've actually used. So I will need to check, because that's something I'll need to know, because I don't have that information right now to know if other studies have this particular instrument have been used in other studies. So that's something I'll like maybe find out, because I know they were actually referenced in other studies too. So I need to check the population it was used on and all that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good point.
But I get your point. It's just like heads up. That's something that I feel like you should really look into.
Yeah, thank you.
And I believe Christine Sperney had her hand raised. If you'd like to give your question.
Hi, Deborah. Well done. Thank you for sharing with us today. I had a similar question about the instruments as well, and it's already been asked and you've already kind of addressed it. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but for the psychographic questions, were those questions that you were going to develop yourself, or were those from the behavioral instrument that you mentioned from previous studies?
Yeah, some of them are actually the same with what's in other studies, like threat appraisal, general knowledge about vaccines, social conscience. Most of them were apart from the vaccine conspiracy belief scale, which I don't know, I may remove it from, I'm just really still contemplating, but it's just a scale assessing people's belief in conspiracy theories, if it's actually affecting their, I don't know if it's actually important, but I was just thinking I could just like include it to see if it has something to do with their intentions to get vaccinated. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I just had another follow-up question. At one of the recent town halls, our president was saying that most of the focus for COVID-19 has been at the NMSU main campus, and that some of the other campuses haven't gotten as much attention. And so they've been trying to incorporate what other campuses are doing into the town halls and to try to be more inclusive of our satellite sites. I'm just wondering why you might limit your survey to just the NMSU main campus instead of it distributing it university-wide.
Yeah.
To get other perspectives from outlying regions that aren't in Las Cruces and smaller areas.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good one. I could actually think about adding it, including them to my study.
I mean, I don't know what impact it might have, but I just thought since, we have been really focused on the main campus, and it might be interesting to hear about grants in Hidalgo and some of these other outlying areas and student perceptions or intentions to vaccinate from other parts of New Mexico.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the question that Kristen asked just now regarding your trying to incorporate other NMSU campuses, I think that kind of like ties to what Dr. McDonald said earlier, that you have to kind of like anticipate a like a sample size or a study size or something like that. So that's something that I feel like you should also put into consideration, because I don't know if the sample might be too big for you to handle, or But also opening it up to other people can try to allow you to have a considerable amount of sample size to work with. So that's something you should totally put into consideration.
Yeah, it would be something that you'd be able to draw comparisons to in your analysis, because you could compare, you know, the response for your psychographic questions by which campus the student belongs to. Just something to keep in mind.
And since you mentioned geographic location as one of the barriers, that, I mean, I know that's not the focus of your research question, but it could be an interesting outcome or something to analyze.
Yeah.
Did you tell us, Deborah, which demographic factors you were going to be collecting?
I was kind of like, because it's a student population, the standard demographic questions have like income. I don't know if that would be necessary for this study, and employment, you know. So I'm like, departments in NMSU could be included in graphic questions such that I could compare vaccine intentions across departments, then maybe among graduates and undergraduate students to see if there is any disparity or differences. So those were things I was like trying to, though I didn't state out everything that is going to be in the demographic questions out here.
I was wondering about some of the factors, household size, for example. Some of the factors we know are associated with transmission. So maybe that's related to perceived threat. You know, is that something people are aware of, that if they're in closer contact with more people, that their risk of COVID is higher?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at. Some of those factors. You're probably going to, I mean, you'll probably be asking them about their living situation. Are they on campus? Are they living at home? How many people they're living with?
Yeah, along those same lines, marital status may be important, because married males tend to be, especially married males, tend to be more responsible sometimes than unmarried males. You know, in terms of reckless behavior, it drops, you know, by marital status.
What about children?
Oh, yeah. If they have a child.
I think you might need to be a little careful on some of the demographic questions, though, because you may risk being able to identify individuals. So if you think about a small department or a program that may only have one female student in it, or one male student in it, or just a few, if it's too granular, you run the risk that people could be identified, and you'd have to take some precautions to make sure that that didn't happen. We're reporting small cell sizes and those kinds of things. Maybe not necessarily department, but maybe going up to college level.
Oh, yeah.
Might be better.
Yeah, good point.
Deborah, is there a vaccine conspiracy belief scale already developed?
Well, it's part of this particular survey, so
Then yeah. Cool. If you put all of those measures into your survey, how long a survey are you talking about? Or do you have a goal to keep it under a certain number of minutes or under a certain number of questions to make it easier? I mean, so you can tell people this will take 10 minutes of your time, or this will take no more than 15 minutes of your time, or something like that.
Well, hopefully I'm looking at, say, 10, 15 minutes, nothing more.
Yeah, just to add to that, by the time you finish developing your questions, you can just like run it through a couple of people so that you can get like an average number of time or minutes that they used in answering the questions. That could help to give you a sense of. And also, I feel like you should keep it really brief and concise so that students will be willing to participate in it.
What do you, can I ask a question of you, Osase and Juan Carlos? What would be the motivating factor for you? A student contacts you, it's a mass email, you all get it. She's doing her thesis on a topic that we're all interested in, but it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes of your time. Is there some kind of messaging that would be, that would hit home to you more than something else?
Yeah, well, I think in that case, I would just keep in mind, Deborah, that, we as students get invitations to conduct surveys all the time. And if I'm honest, most of the time I don't end up doing them. They're usually like surveys for to give, my experience with Corbett Student Center, that sort of thing. So, just keep in mind that students are going to be having a lot of invitations. I think you'd really, in your invitation, you're going to have to be brief, but really specify why it's important to do the survey. I'm wondering though, if, I don't know if you'll end up needing an incentive or not, because I don't know if students that are less inclined to get vaccinated, I don't know if they're going to find, the importance of doing your survey less than a student who believes, getting vaccinated is important. So I don't know if you're going to, end up having like a skewed response in your results, because those that conduct your survey are those that think getting vaccinated is important, and that's the reason why they conduct the survey. So you're going to get responses that, you're going to, in your results, you're going to get a lot of responses that suggest that students are more inclined to get vaccinated, but that, it'll be because those students that don't get inclined to get vaccinated aren't going to find, important to complete your survey. I don't know if that'll be something to consider.
Yeah.
In that case, I think maybe using a small incentive, maybe like a raffle for, that could help. I think in the past, like Barnes and Noble and these sorts of big organizations, they have donated to organizations in NMSU in the past. So maybe you can reach out to one of those companies, tell them that you're doing a survey and asking if they'd be willing to donate a tablet that you could then raffle. Because then, I think, I don't know, that's just an idea.
Oh, good idea.
I think that might be something you're going to have to consider.
Yeah, just to add to what Juan Carlos is saying, I think Juan Carlos has really touched almost everything that I wanted to say. But I feel like just to add to it, you should your message should be such that it appeals to their consciences, and that could also help, like brief and very, very catchy. Then you can also reach out to sponsors, like just to keep them motivated. Then also you can use the NMSU IT, like things that pop up on Canvas, and like trying as a reminder, or trying to like let them see, like when you open your Canvas, like there are stuffs that come up and it's like a form of advertisement and stuff like that. So that could also help. And most importantly, you just tell them what you want to do and send a lot of emails and stuff like that. So that's what I think.
Yeah, good point. Because I think in one way, whether or not individuals believe that COVID-19 is a threat to them, they may believe it's a threat to their parents or to their, other family members, or that they recognize that it's a barrier for them to return to traditional learning, and that's what they want. So by completing your survey, it will help the university plan to make that happen. So I think in your invitation, you have to, address the importance of your survey from multiple angles, so that you'll get a wide range of response.
Also, just to add to that, I want to believe that a lot of students love traditional learning. I really want to believe that. So if they actually do, that is also something that can help to attract them. Like, okay, we want to do everything possible to get back on campus and stuff like that. That can also, I think that can also help, because I definitely miss the whole having to go to school, having to see people and stuff like that.
Mm.
Kiona, you have a question. I see your hand up.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I just want to also mention to you, Deborah, I have worked with Qualtrics before, and inside the Qualtrics platform, it does have an option there of a preview where you can go through your survey yourself, both on your phone or on a website. And I would recommend doing that to see, and also timing yourself to see how long it takes you to read every question as if you're reading it for the first time, like a participant would, and answering the information and just doing it from a preview that way, so you can get a range of time that it would take to do your survey, as well to see if any errors are within your survey or anything like that. But kind of going off what everybody else was saying, is a big factor for me, I know, to get vaccinated was family. That I do have family who have higher risk of getting COVID and things like that due to chronic conditions. But that was like a factor to me, is like, even if, say, I didn't want to get vaccinated, I would want to get vaccinated to protect them. So that's kind of like the way I was thinking about it. I don't know if that's helpful or anything, but that helped me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to what Kiana was saying, yeah, the mobile version of the Qualtrics survey is very interesting. And I think it would be really helpful for a lot of students who are on the go. And the formatting does look quite different than using the typical user interface for the survey, but it works well. So it is nice to have both options.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So maybe like an invitation, Deborah can say, you can do this survey on your phone.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, very good point.
One of the things some of the students in our college have done for research studies is, rather than just email to the general student population, they've reached out to professors. And some professors are more receptive to other, but I've helped some students that where they'll administer this, they'll advertise the survey in their class, and as an incentive, the instructor gives extra credit for doing the survey. Now, some people don't like to do that, and I do it reluctantly, but sometimes that could be an approach rather than just a wide casting email.
I think extra credit would be a very good incentive. Those I could get it.
Now you do have to be careful, because sometimes you get a little bit of bias in terms of the types of classes that get selected for students to participate.
Are there any other questions? Are there any questions you have, Deborah, for all of us while we're all here?
None that I can think of right now.
Okay, come back to us.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was a great set of questions. So glad you were all on the meeting and asked all those questions. That was really helpful, I think, and fun too.
And so just a quick small question before we leave, Deborah. Wanted to ask you, when do you hope to get the approval and start conducting your survey? By the summer or before the summer?
Oh, before the summer. Before the summer, immediately. Like, I'm to work on it as soon as I can.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, really catch the students before the end of the semester.
Yeah.
That would be perfect timing, really.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you,
job.
Deborah.
Thank you.
Great job, Deborah.
Very timely, very important research, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job, Deborah.